So how would something like Ricky Gervais at the Oscars work in that context?
Yeah, so this is so. You're referring to like the presenting he does of the
Yeah.
The most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the Golden Globes he does.
That might have been it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's Golden Globes, yeah.
Sorry, Golden
Yeah.
Globes.
Which
Yeah.
I
So
think
what do you think
Michael
of
just
Ricky
loves
at
the
the Golden
Oscars.
Globes?
He goes on and on about it. So.
Well, the distinction there is interesting because he would never get employed for the Oscars, would he? He does the Golden Globes because, from what I can gather, the Golden Globes is essentially a joke, isn't it? Like isn't it like you just buy the award, don't you?
So who does the Golden Globes and who does the Oscars?
Whereas
like
the Oscars is a deeply meaningful.
Is Golden Globes like the Kevin Hart?
No,
that was the Oscars. Jack, what does it mean when you call something a joke in that instance?
In what?
When you call the Golden Globes a joke,
right? Well, so it's in the sense that the Golden Globes is funny because it shows the ridiculousness of having these award ceremonies to congratulate millionaires on their acting,
and they're giving it to themselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, look, and ironically, what do they all get up and do, don't they?
It's like Buster Keaton handshaking everyone.
Yes. Yeah. And they all get up and say, we need to fight whatever's flavor of the month. Me too. You know what I mean? What's next?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Talk about political correctness. Like,
my formulation was, instead of speaking truth to power, it's power holding on to truth.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
There is something to this. Like, so you've talked before, Jack, about how Extras is different to The Office in the respect that it's about lampooning celebrity, but the celebrity status still remains.
Yeah.
Like, it's untouched.
Yeah.
And there's something about Ricky in these public performances, supposedly like talking truth to power.
Yeah.
But that celebrity remains. And it's the same thing that functions in celebrity roasts, which are so popular.
Yeah.
So for you, in that context, is that true or false comedy?
False comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would it take for it to be true comedy?
This is where the thin line might be. I think we referred to earlier. It's something I use the term minimal difference a lot in the book, and the idea of the one being split. So when in something like Extras, you get the celebrities performing versions of themselves. So you get the gap between the example I draw upon in the book is Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, who was does a lot of charity work. So he comes on and performs. Chris Martin performs Chris Martin. But that creates that sort of gap between Chris Martin and his symbolic identity. Mm-hmm. And it's in that gap where false comedy lies, because it maintains the distance between the two. It can be cynical. Chris Martin can go on to Extras and perform this exaggerated version of himself, but then walk off, when cut, Extras is finished, he can go, they'll like this. So it's a kind of a roasting of himself, a lampooning of himself, that despite the fact he's performing himself, it creates a distance, I believe, creates a sort of cynical distance. And I think that's what they're doing whenever they do these sort of talk shows, isn't it? You've got ceremonies and whatnot. You've got Ricky Gervais just lampooning all these people. I suppose the jump there, the minimal difference into true comedy, is in many ways to subvert that, to show that the ridiculousness of it is the show. Perhaps more of the ridiculousness of it is in the fact that celebrities can perform themselves. The fact of a notion of a celebrity would in itself be the comedy. How can you have this person?
A celebrity performing themselves. I just think that there's something to this idea that in antiquity you have power and a jester, right?
Yeah.
Like the court has its jester.
Yeah.
But the idea is that the jester functions in such a way that it can be taken away at any point in time.
Yeah.
It has to maintain its role, pleasing the king. Like, the idea is that you have to be thick-skinned if you're the object of ridicule.
Yeah.
Which is that you have to maintain some kind of minimal distance. Like Žižek talks about how there's a monstrosity to your direct identification with a symbolic mandate.
Yep.
So someone like Ricky Gervais performing at the Golden Globes, is he performing as Ricky Gervais, or is he performing as like the performance itself of being Ricky Gervais?
I think he's performing Ricky Gervais, but I think that gets, and so Ricky Gervais performs Ricky Gervais and makes a comment about Brad Pitt or something or other, about Brad Pitt being ridiculous or something or other. Now, that is often reported both in the media and in the clips that get shared afterwards as ha ha ha, look at Ricky Gervais taking the mick out of Brad Pitt. Now, there might actually still be that minimal difference, that sort of line where actually, yeah, you should be laughing at Brad Pitt type thing, but that gets lost, if that makes sense. It's laying bare that minimal difference, which is key. The minimal, you guys, I was talking about Michael, I think I mentioned it to you on Twitter, Michael, that I was kicking myself, the Austin Powers example, allow myself to introduce myself. That's the minimal difference, if you know what I mean, that gets lost, I think, in false comedy. It gets lost in the reporting of Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais is taking the mick out of these people, and he's getting paid a lot of money for doing about it. So he's probably, he's in a false position there. But I would still hold on to that. There's a subversive potential in what he's saying.
And towards that, I think, what would you hope for someone to do in that situation? Like, what would be an amazing thing for them to do? Would maybe one of them pointing out that they all supported Harvey Weinstein when it was convenient? Because I've never seen anyone look as uncomfortable as Tom Hanks did when he made a joke about it.
Yeah, I know. I thought this is it. This is, how could you carry on the joke? How could you make sure that the potential there, which you've just highlighted, is contained? I don't know. Perhaps I asked too much of people here. Perhaps Ricky Gervais could write an essay on why he thinks it's important. That could get released or distributed out. I think it's interesting because I suppose this is perhaps a conundrum we get to, because perhaps you could have what's that film where the news presenter goes mental live on air or something?
Network. That movie's so good.
What if he had like a network breakdown and he just refused? He just refused to move from the podium.
Which is basically what his character does in Extras in the Christmas special, right? Like when he's on some sort of Big Brother celebrity show or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right. That's a good example.
I had an example of just when we were talking about like celebrities. I'm probably gonna we cut this because it's another reference to Nathan for you, but the celebrity appearance on talk shows, and he's making a joke about the way that celebrities present themselves, and he notices, he kind of plays the idiot. He's like, I've noticed that they always have a charming story of something that happened to them, and that it has to be true, otherwise people will find out and it's very embarrassing for them. So he sets about for the entire episode constructing a fake story that he's going to tell on Jimmy Kimmel Live. It is true in that everything that happens does happen to him. Like, he goes to a funeral wearing a suit that's too big for him, and in the suit there's his mother's ashes that look like cocaine when he gets pulled over by the cops. So it's a story that actually happens, but it's been entirely like preconceived by him. And he goes on Jimmy Kimmel Live and tells it to the crowd, and it seems like it's true, but the end of it is that he reveals that on Jimmy Kimmel it was both a truth and a lie. It was like a fake true story that happened.
Right. Yeah. That sounds brilliant. That sounds
it's very good.
Yeah, this Nathan, I'm gonna have to go watch.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
I'd have probably rewritten the book using Nathan for You example.
Because that's like a truth has a structure of a fiction.
Exactly,
right?
Big time. Yeah,
definitely. And I suppose I heard I read. Who did I read? I think I read it in an article the other day. It's the duped who do not err, or something.
Yeah.
A clever way of, the non-duped err. Mm-hmm. The duped who do not err is actually, you want to be in that position of the duped who do not err, if that makes sense. You're understanding.
You adopt the position of the kind of idiot in a way, or the dupe.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's what interpassivity gives us. If I just to draw upon another, I think that it allows you to be in that position of understanding the fiction, but enough space to subvert the fiction, because I think we can only subvert it through meeting the real in the symbolic. Would be that, you still need the symbolic order, I think would be my, which I've always heard, that you need to be in the game to change it. You know what I mean? If you're always going to be the maverick on the outskirts, then you're never going to be able to, despite the fact you need to know where that outskirt is.
Yeah, because it always includes itself.
Yes. So we can perhaps confront the real in these moments of the duped who do not err. That's where the real appear, or that's where the limits of the symbolic order become visible. And that's an opportunity for
and in some sense, comedy is about pointing toward the symbolic and the arbitrariness, the simultaneous arbitrariness and necessity of it.
Yeah, its limits, the fact that it is limited, that the fact that its own limits comprise its arbitrariness, its inconsistency.
Because it's not funny enough to just point to it, like pointing it and like messing around with like how it could be otherwise and why it's that way is also like a big part of comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. And the limits of the symbolic paradoxically produce the real.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the difficult part, right? Like when you try to conceive of the real and you realize that there's a limit to language, and it's at that limit that you have to suppose that the real is there.
Yeah. They're entwined. Yeah.
So each of those so how would something like interface
Thank you.